Hi, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make a pilau rice from scratch, and alongside that, while that's cooking, I'm also going to be doing a chicken karai using the karai tarka sauce. So first of all, before you start your pilau rice, the first thing you need to do is measure your rice out. So I'm using 2 cups of pilau rice, literally a cup. It's white basmati rice. I've soaked it in water and I've had it soak in there for a good half an hour to an hour at least. And that means that the rice is going to fluff up nicely when we cook it. We need to start with a hot pan. We're going to heat the pan up and we're going to use, I've got mustard oil here, so we're going to use about 100 ml of mustard oil. So I'm not really measuring that out very accurately, but looks about right. Okay, and while that oil is heating, I'm going to slice my onion. Okay, so we've sliced our onion there. I'm going to stick that into the oil. So how restaurants get that lovely brown flavour in the pilau rice is they allow the onions to fry until they're nice and golden brown. The longer you allow the onions to fry for, the darker they get, and therefore the more colour you get and the more fragrance you get in your rice. So they're browning nicely, as you can see, but I'm going to let them go for a bit longer because I like a lot of colour in my rice and I like the onions to fry through quite a lot to release a lot more flavour. Reminds me of my mum's cooking at home. That's nice and golden brown. If you go ahead and start with the pilau rice now, it's going to be quite light coloured. I'm going to let that continue to fry for a bit longer until it almost looks like the onions are burning, but you don't need to worry about that because that's what's going to release all that colour. Right, those are fried probably as much as I want them to. Don't want to go any further than that, otherwise we're going to start burning the onions. I'm going to add about 70 ml of water in there, and I need to get my lid ready. There we go. I'm going to pop the lid on there and just let the water bring the temperature of that down so the onions don't over fry. So when you do add the water, you need to add it quickly and have the lid to hand, because obviously the oil is going to be very, very hot and the water brings it down in temperature quite quickly, and it spits quite a lot, so that's why you need to have the lid to hand. So we've created our fried onion soup and we need to add the salt and the garam masala to this. It's, as I said, the pilau rice is very, very easy to make, and the reason why it's so easy is because actually all you need is garam masala. So you can use any blend of garam masala that's available out there. There's lots of different blends. They all taste slightly differently. This is our own unique blend, which will hopefully be available to purchase online quite soon. So 2 heaped teaspoons. And I'm going to add 1 heaped teaspoon of salt in there as well. You can add more salt to taste at this point. I'm going to add 4 cups of water because I've got 2 cups of rice that are soaking there, so we add 4 cups of water there. Now a little trick here is, obviously if you use boiling water you're going to save a lot of time. The reason you add the water in there is to balance the amount of rice and to make sure that you've got enough water in there for the rice to cook properly, and so that you don't need to drain any water out or likewise add any more water at a later stage. So that should be enough. You can taste it at this point and it'll give you a good indication of what the rice is going to taste like. It's really nice. Okay, I'm going to bring the heat down. I'm going to add the rice now. Careful not to splash. I'm going to stir that rice in now. Keep the heat high and just let it come back to the boil again. So you want to stir this every 2 or 3 minutes, but in between, keep adding the lid because you don't want that to lose too much moisture. Otherwise your rice might end up being a little bit too dry. While that is cooking, that's going to be probably another 7 or 8 minutes. I'm going to start on the curry now. So let's go with a hot pan there. Back to our mustard oil. Little drizzle in there. I've got about 450 grams of diced chicken breast. I'm going to add that to the pan. Give that a good stir. That'll fry up in 2 or 3 minutes. Meanwhile, I'm going to give our rice a quick stir, just to make sure none of it's sticking to the pan. So what happens when you start with a pan that's not hot enough? It takes ages for your chicken to fry. So that's why you need a hot pan. So just stir fry that chicken for 3 or 4 minutes until it's sealed in the oil. I'm going to add the jar of karai tarka sauce. A little bit of water to the jar, just to rinse it out. The reason why I've gone with the karai as well today is because the karai is a tomato-based sauce and pilau rice is onion-based, so it kind of balances the flavors quite nicely. So that chicken is cooking nicely. I'm just going to pop the lid on there, turn the heat down a little bit, and let that simmer for a few more minutes. That won't take long at all. And we're going to check on our rice. So that rice is cooking nicely. It's absorbing the moisture and you can see the volume is growing there. So we're going to let that continue to cook for a bit. And you can see the lovely brown colour it's picked up from the onions as well. So that's got a few more minutes until that moisture, that water disappears. And then we're going to lower the heat and steam it for the last few minutes. In the meantime, let's check on the curry. That's coming along nicely as well. If you've got any questions about this recipe or any other recipes that we've done, just drop us a comment below and we'll try our best to answer. Okay, I'm going to check on my rice now. So that is very nearly done. You can still see there's a little bit of water bubbling there. So I'm going to check to see if there's any water standing on the base. So if you zoom in there, you can see there's still a little bit of water there, so I'm going to let that simmer for another minute or two until that's disappeared. And then I'm going to pop it on a smaller hob and let it steam for the last few minutes. Okay, we're going to give our curry another stir. That's cooked nicely, so that chicken is probably done now. I'm not going to take the lid off and let that reduce down at the moment because our rice isn't ready. That's got another 5 or 10 minutes to steam cook, so I'm going to lower the heat on that. That rice looks like it's very nearly done. We're going to check the moisture level again. So there's no standing water there. There's very little moisture left in that. And we're going to just let that steam. Now the traditional method, how my mum used to do it at home, was to use a tea towel, stick the lid in the middle of the tea towel, fold the tea towel over, and stick that on your pan. And press that firmly. You want to make sure that none of the steam is escaping, so that will allow the rice to be nice and fluffy. And I'm also going to pop that on a smaller hob, so there isn't too much heat. And we'll have a final check on the curry. That looks pretty much done. Okay. take the lid off and let that simmer for a few minutes until that sauce has thickened up a little bit. Okay, our curry is now done. I'm going to turn the gas off there. That's been steaming for about 10 minutes on a very low heat. I'm going to move that back into the middle and check our rice. That's lovely, that. And cooked perfectly. And I'm going to finish that off with a dollop of mango chutney. Fresh homemade pilau rice and chicken karai served with Aagrah's mango chutney.